Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for Snatched. So Snatched stars Amy Schumer and Goldie Hawn, and it revolves around a story of a person played by Amy Schumer who is dumped by her boyfriend, fired from her job, but she still wants to take a vacation that was non-refundable. And the issue is that she has no one else to take, so she ends up taking her mom. And when she does, she finds that it's very awkward and very difficult, so she starts hanging out with this man a lot. And when she goes on the man on a trip, both of them, her mother and her, end up getting kidnapped. And it's about how they try to escape and try to find their way back to civilization. This was easily one of my least anticipated movies of the year. Honestly, I haven't seen a single funny thing Amy Schumer's ever done. I hear Trainwreck is good, but I didn't see it. And everything else that I have seen from her is absolutely awful. And the trailers, too, were just atrocious. They didn't look funny by the slightest. So I went in with practically rock-bottom expectations. I thought that this would probably be one of the worst films of the year. And Snatched isn't one of the worst films of the year, but is it bad? Absolutely. Snatched is a really, really terribly done film with a lot of awful, awful humor. I believe that comedies are harder to make than dramas, because trying to make everybody in your theater laugh is practically impossible. You need to make a comedy that is smart, that have jokes that will last a while, and that isn't too jokey to the point that it sort of becomes overdone, or that there aren't enough jokes to the point that the movie isn't funny. It's a really delicate balance when it comes to comedies, and I believe because of that, it's harder to make a comedy than a drama. And that's why a lot of dramas are awful, because maybe they come up with a few good jokes, but a lot of comedies go for non-stop jokes, and they don't work. Snatched, honestly, has everything about humor that I don't like. For one, not a single joke is memorable. Not a single joke is unpredictable. I practically predicted every single joke in this movie. I'm going to give you a situation right now and try to predict it. An underexperienced man goes into the jungle and swings across a rope. Do you think that he will make it across? Fall down? And if he does fall down, do you think it'll be played for drama or for laughs? If you guessed that he falls down and that it's for laughs, good job, you predicted practically every single joke in this movie. You predicted, sure, that just one, but every single joke is on that same level of predictability, and I can't laugh at something when I expect it to come. Great comedies have jokes that come completely out of left field that you didn't know were coming, and sometimes they'll make you laugh purely because of that, but sometimes they'll make you laugh because they are a funny joke. And even there's a lot of comedy in this film that just doesn't even make sense. Humor is not the worst part of this movie, though. It is the most annoying part because they're trying to constantly be funny, but it isn't the worst part. Definitely one of the worst parts in this film is like the flow from scene to scene. Because the comedy is, constant and non-stop and always trying to be hilarious, the flow throughout the film is completely awful. Because when you have lines of dialogue that aren't comedic, they are absolutely atrocious. Now, the comedic lines are also really, really bad. But it's even worse when you're trying to have lines of realistic dialogue that sound absolutely unrealistic in every single way. You get these weird conversations between people, like a scene where Amy Schumer and Goldie Hawn are talking about their father, and they randomly put that in there, and the flow isn't consistent because they stop telling jokes, and then they just sort of go serious for a second, and the same thing happens with the heart in this movie, because like many comedies, it has forced heart, and in fact, the heart in here is even more forced than other films I've seen before. There's a super strong message about mothers and daughters, only it is shoved and crammed down your throat so far to the point that you're like, okay, what about this is even slightly subtle? What about it is slightly remarkable in any sense of the word? The answer, none of it. And the heart is so forced because they'll be in these dangerous situations, like they'll be walking through the Amazons unsure if they're going to get food or not, and they'll randomly bring up how Goldie Hawn never gets a call from Amy Schumer. And what's the point? You are in the middle of the jungle. Why are you talking about these family struggles that have nothing to do with what's going on? It honestly just feels very jarring, and it's a random pause in it, and that again messes with the flow, because you have this already weird kind of wonky flow flow of the comedy, and then it gets serious, or it tries to have a lot of heart, and it doesn't work in any single way. Another issue with this film, it's forgettable. It is hardcore forgettable. I don't remember a single scene in this movie. If I think about the movie, I think about the trailer, which I was forced to see about 50 times in theaters, because they wouldn't stop showing it. And as far as the movie goes, there's not a single scene that I remember in the movie that I didn't see in the trailers. This movie can also be quite racist and stereotypical at times, because a lot of the times, I'm going to set up a situation. A character goes into a room, he is not of our country, to watch a sport. Guess what sport it is? Did you guess soccer? Because that's exactly what it is. It's so stereotypical, and they just have stereotypical stuff like that throughout. Everything that is not American seems really exotic and strange and untrustworthy, especially these doctors that are trying to help Amy Schumer get an inchworm out of her throat. Like, they feed it out with meat and other just weird stuff like that isn't funny in any way, and it's just extremely stereotypical and racist, and films do not need to do that, and it's trying to be funny, and it's absolutely not hitting. Is Snatched the type of movie that has only a lot of problems and no good things? I wouldn't say that, because honestly the acting could have been worse. The acting is not the problem here. The problem is the dialogue that was written for them, which is absolutely awful. Now, Snatched isn't the worst movie of the year, and I didn't come out of it hating myself like I did other movies, but this is a terrible movie. I didn't expect it to be as racist as it was, because yeah, the jokes were bad and I was expecting that, but it did a lot of other bad things that were absolutely awful, like the dialogue, like the racism, like everything else in the movie that wasn't even the comedy was awful. And sure, maybe a comedy, if it makes you laugh, that's fine. When a comedy can't make you laugh, you need to look at the other aspects. If the other aspects are awful, then you know that you've got an awful movie. And for that very reason, I will give Snatched a 3.25 out of 10. The reason that it isn't like a 2 out of 10 or something is because I didn't come out of the theater hating myself as much as I would. And honestly, it's so forgettable, and it's forgettable because it doesn't leave a huge negative impact on you. And because of that, I'll give it a lower score. Is that a compliment? Absolutely not, but it's the reason why this film isn't like a 2 or a 1 out of 10. Well, alright, that concludes my review for Snatched. What are your thoughts on this film? Comment in the comment section below, and let me know. I should be getting a review out for King Arthur, and maybe the original Alien before Alien Covenant comes out. Next week, I should get a review out for Everything, The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul, hopefully Alien Covenant if I could see it, but until then, I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.